oh, that's just straight up racism. Like,
but it's a communication.
Wow, but you
holy shit.
What is the U.S. interest that her writing an op-ed?
Suez Canal.
The Suez Canal?
Let's hop into an episode of Tim Pool or Tim Cast or whatever they're calling it nowadays with comedian Adam Conover, I think his name is, where they discussed a couple topics I thought that I wanted to speak about. We don't often get to speak about a lot of them, so I thought it would make a good time on the weekend to take a moment, discuss them, debunk Tim, right? So leave us a like on this video if you can. It gives us a great boost in the algorithm. We really appreciate it, and it's free. So leave us that like, and let's get right into the video.
I find it bizarre to watch the right, like something goes wrong and they're immediately like, oh, the problem is that we have a woman fire chief, or we have a people of color air traffic controllers. It's like, oh, that's just straight up racism. Like,
but it's a communication.
Wow, but you've like somehow done a little loop-de-loop where you're like, oh, I think DEI is racist, therefore me yelling at black people in positions of power is not racist.
I mean,
like, it's bizarre.
But that's not the case.
This was one of my favorite parts because you have the comedian who you can tell isn't terminally online like Tim Pool or even really a politics guy, but he is someone who's able to very normally describe how clearly racist the whole DEI tangents are to anyone who isn't one racist or terminally online. And that's exactly what it is. Whether it's DEI, CRT, affirmative action, it's just how these guys give themselves and members of their base an avenue to be racist, to say black pilots make you nervous is nothing but racism. Calling democratically elected black officials DEI hires is nothing but racism. Blaming tragedies or mistakes that happen in companies or with planes or wherever or with fires is because black people work there is racism, where these people have convinced themselves, well, DEI is racist, so my attacks on black people aren't racist, they're justified. Black people are less qualified, and DEI, it's not in the basis of any statistics you could ever point to. DEI still undershoots representation equal to the population, so it in no way could be unjust, but none of them could even coherently describe what DEI is, right? They legitimately think that companies are just placing like hiring quotas for black people and pulling them off the streets to meet them and like firing white people and like, sorry, sir, you weren't far enough down my color sheet. Like, it's insanity.
She's being put in a prison and then she's being like forcibly deported. Do you think that's good for America? Like, this is okay. So,
marginally,
you think what do you think is good? Even marginally, like what's the minor small benefit to America?
Do not come to our country and rally against it and its interests. I apply this too to any of these. So
what is the U.S. interest that her writing an op-ed?
Suez Canal.
The Suez Canal?
They're discussing Romasia Ozturk here. I might have mispronounced her name slightly, but she was a lawful student visa holder who was picked up for an opinion piece that she wrote, an article about the genocide in Gaza, and of course was held for weeks in detention by the Trump administration and had her visa revoked for being accused of Hamas affiliation for her words. And again, not the first one. Mahmoud Khalil deported for his beliefs. Literally, I just don't know where Tim thinks the Suez Canal comes into this, because it has nothing to do with it, but it is frighteningly authoritarian, right? It is frightening how authoritarian these weirdos are specifically. It's like the state is always right and you can't question the state, and there's punishments for questioning the state. And the state is, of course, Trump. And in Tim Pool's mind, as much as opposing the Suez Canal warrants detention and deportation, like, that's insanity, right? Like, if you come to this country legally and lawfully, which is what these people claim to have wanted, and then do as much as oppose the Suez Canal, you can be put in detention for weeks and then deported. But someone who sexually assaulted a woman and engaged in 34 counts, felony counts of falsifying business records, can be the president, right? Like, there's nothing in this. They literally just don't want people in this country that they want to consider American, where what they consider American is always going to be some white-centric view that excludes foreigners and brown people.
The very fine people hoax?
I mean, I remember the line. Yeah,
Trump never called Nazis fine people.
He said there were very fine people on both sides,
except the neo-Nazis and white nationalists, who should be condemned totally.
He said that.
Holy shit, brother!
I don't live in your bubble, man. You don't
live in the fucking news, dude. Come the fuck on.
Well, he absolutely did, and we'll get into that. But I love that Tim's whole stick is centered around trying to corner people around this weird subject material that he obsesses over that they don't know about. But as to why what Trump said was so clearly and obviously a whistle to the Nazis and racists in his base and was platforming a movement that was nothing but racist and is all the way something that should be condemned by both sides, is he was speaking about the Unite the Right rally, which was a literal white supremacist rally ran and put together by a self-avowed, self-claimed Nazi who hates Jewish people. The only people who attended were the alt-right, which is racist, fascist, Nazis, white nationalists, literal Klansmen, right? And there were the officers and the counter-protesters on the other side, if we're talking about both sides here. Like the people at the protest were walking around hooded up, full Klan gear on, Nazi flags they're waving around, Confederate flags, they're chanting racist slurs, anti-Semitic slurs, and more. There was no one on that side that Trump could be talking about that isn't a self-avowed racist. If you take out, what did he say, the Nazis and the white supremacists, okay, that leaves Klansmen who were there, it leaves fascists who were there, it leaves white nationalists who were there, it leaves the far-right militia groups like the Proud Boys, who he's also told to stand back and stand by, that were there. You can't take what he said and not put it as either platforming a movement that was completely racist, so it was out of pocket for him to say that and he should walk it back, and the fact that he hasn't should be condemned, or that he was whistling to the racist people that were there. There were no good people on the side, so to even say that is to give credence to a movement that, again, ran by a self-proclaimed Nazi who said he supports Trump because Trump won't give his daughter to the Jews. Even the Snopes article Tim is pointing to here, if you just scroll down, which Tim will never do because he just does headlines, their own fact check says and states clearly at the beginning for everyone that it in no way pertains to the veracity of his statement, whether what he was saying was logical or accurate. And they even go as far to say, in fact, as reported by multiple credible outlets, it was pretty off base because the only people at that rally were racist. So Tim's own fact check that he is going to, his source, that he considers legitimate, doesn't agree with what he's saying. But he probably disagrees with that side then, right? I mean, it's called walking the line in a way that allows you to have culpability, something that people who are racist, who are misogynistic, bigots, fascists, these people have to do that nowadays, especially with the power of social media. Trump is pretty darn good at it. And it's like, I don't get what is this juvenile thinking that like the only people we can call racist are the ones who like walk up Klan hood on and are saying like, you know, like it's clearly a whistle.